Today we're going to talk about the latest innovations made available through the C3 Agentic AI Platform to help developers onboard and build, deploy, and operate applications more quickly. And as Jim Snobby talked about this morning, that's really the entire development team. And so I'm joined today by my colleague Josh Przybylko, who is the lead product manager on the C3 Agentic AI Platform. And we're going to live demo some software to you today. My name is Jake Whitcomb. I lead developer experience at C3. And thank you for joining us. So one of the things that gets me inspired every year are the stories and the use cases that our customers are presenting on stage. And these are across supply network risk, inventory optimization, predictive maintenance, demand forecasting, and more. And it's the C3 AI applications that are pre-built and extended in most cases to achieve these use cases or built from scratch on top of the C3 Agentic AI platform. And we're achieving these use cases, and the stories go that we've achieved speed and scale through the organization. And when we talk about speed, from a developer experience standpoint, we talk about that day one of onboarding, from that first time I open up C3 AI Studio and take training, and scale in speed of deploying my first application. And today you heard Tom talk about a six-month pilot, and going from 3 to 6 months from discovering data to configuring your AI models to configuring application logic and UI, and then scaling out not to just one facility or one area of your supply network, but to the entire global fleet. And so what accelerates the speed and scale of these use cases? Well, first, it's the pre-built AI applications, 131 today, that you can deploy out of the box, and they come pre-configured with the data pipelines, the AI models that you can fine-tune on your data, the application logic and alerting workflows, the application user interfaces that you can then configure. And then on top of that, they're taking advantage of the latest technologies available through the C3 Agentic AI platform that are pre-integrated, orchestrated, and made available to the entire development team. And so when Jim Snobby talked about enabling the development team on one platform, this collaboration is key to make sure that the data sources that I'm working on as a data scientist are the same ones that are being worked on as by my colleague Josh on the data engineering team. And so we're going to demo these workflows for you today. And this is all accelerated further by the great work of our industry partners, Microsoft, AWS, Google, to provide the infrastructure services and tools that the C3 AI Agentic AI platform is deployed with our applications on top of. And so it's this core development team that we're focused on with developer experience. This is our passion. And our mission is achieving self-sufficiency so that they can deploy, build, operate these AI applications very quickly. And so if you've worked with C3 before, you know that we've spent a lot of time interviewing customers. So we looked at over 2,000 CSAT surveys, customer interviews, developer project reports, and we listened to what the developers would like to see in the platform next. And this is what we've heard. So from application engineering, we heard things like more training around advanced UI courses. So we provide the foundational courses for UI development, but give me more advanced courses so that when I want to use a native framework like React, this is, I can take an hour course on how to do that. Or let me have integrated code and no-code tool development so that when Josh is using a no-code tool, it can seamlessly interact with a coding environment so that the changes that Josh makes in his data pipelines and a no-code interface can then show up in the code base, and I can make changes in the code, and that seamlessly interoperates with his. Provide more troubleshooting doc and tools like on-demand VS Code directly from the browser to reduce setup time. Real-time developer support so that if I don't have Josh or a data scientist sitting next to me, I can go to a developer community and ask my question and get immediate responses. Application configuration guides so that from day one of deploying a new application like C3 Reliability, I know each step along the way, and I can use agents to help guide that approach. And from data science, we heard more things like resource monitoring. As I scale up my GPUs for large inferencing workloads, let me monitor those directly from C3 AI Studio so that I can better balance cost and performance of my overall environment. Automated data transformations from data engineers, also data connectors, visual data load validation, and visual object modeling. So a lot of the tasks that I might have otherwise carried out in my development environment, like visual code extension previously, are now available through a no-code interface, in that I can actually see those changes directly on the object model of C3, made available through C3 AI Studio. So since our product roadmap is largely driven by this customer feedback, we're actually including all of this in the latest version of the C3 AI platform, and we're going to show you this today. So today, announcing new onboarding and developer experiences across the entire lifecycle, from training to documentation, expert support, and visual developer tools made available through AI Studio. In training, we have an entirely redesigned C3 AI Academy for online learning. And this is delivering 10 new courses and streamlined, task-based, modular learning paths, so that I can go in and take an hour of course training today, come back in a week and learn some more specific skills. This is a trend and a request that we've seen from our customers. We also launched in the last 6 months accelerators, so that you can show up to, these are 2-day events where you can show up and work in a collaborative environment with our product managers, our solution architects, and actually bring your own data and use case, and we'll build an application, using generative AI or C3 reliability on top of your data, and in the 2 days, you're presenting that back to your team. And so the combination of accelerators and online courses that allowed me to be certified as a developer, helped me on this path towards self-sufficiency as a development team. And then, as I want to go much deeper, I have technical documentation. So we've delivered now in-context documentation, as Adrian demonstrated on stage this morning. And we have a central developer portal that allows me to search through my documentation with over 10 new guides, 20 total. And much of this documentation you'll now find in context in your application or your developer tools, so that I can now, if I'm configuring a data pipeline, I can click on help and actually get the context of the documentation there, or interact with generative AI to ask the question about the context that I'm in. For expert support, we've rolled out an entirely redesigned C3 AI community. This is a 24/7 engagement forum for all product questions and answers. And what I can do is, whether I'm in training or I'm in a deployment, if I get stuck or I want tips on what to do next, I can go into the developer community, find the category like Gen AI or reliability or C3 Academy, and ask a question there. And each team, each category is backed by the experts, the product managers, the engineering teams, the subject matter experts that are actually responsible for that area and can give me a response about what are the best practices or how to troubleshoot my code, et cetera. And then visual developer tools available in AI Studio, including data fusion for no-code integration, validation of my data sources, so that I can quickly map my data sources at my organization into the object models that are predefined in the application. So we're going to show you this workflow right now. So on day one, now I'm an application developer, and I'm joined by my colleague Josh, and we're going to be collaborating as part of the development team to stand up a new application, a pre-built app on predictive maintenance for wind turbines, right? And in this scenario, I'm coming in as a new developer, and this is day one in Studio. And what I have here is the front end of the C3 Agentic AI platform. This is where I can come in and collaborate with my whole team, get access to monitoring my apps and environments, set up release pipelines, which is a CI/CD process built in that lets me build the specific versions of my app and release that code after it's been tested. New administrative tools that allow me to view all of the compute resources, so that I can see whether or not I have the correct GPU running and how much available resources are available and who might be consuming those. And then we have my the application that we'll be building, this wind turbine predictive maintenance app, and new application quick starts, which are really pre-built tutorials that let me quickly spin up a sandbox, play around with a complete application, try things out, and then tear it down. This is part of the learning journey to help folks have a hands-on experience during training or just learning actually in the environment. And then we have resources on the right-hand side from documentation, community, training where I can get started. And since I'm a new user and I want to demonstrate the new powerful C3 AI Academy, let's go into training. So in the new C3 AI Academy, we have an entirely redesigned interface here with very easy to find learning paths. So on day one, I can get in and start taking courses on digital transformation, platform administration, and architecture. And I can even view release highlight videos so that if I'm not in a presentation with Josh at C3 Transform, I can always go and watch a mini video of Josh presenting the latest capabilities that are coming out in the new version of the platform. And so this is a portal that I can come back and watch and learn the latest that's available. To click on this new capability, release highlights are going to be available for platform and applications. And as I go into platform release, here I have version 8.5 of the C3 Agentic AI Platform, and some new capabilities from machine learning model operations, code assistant in Jupyter, application debugger, et cetera. And when I click in, I'll see that I get many featurette videos that are about 3 to 5 minute long and get live demonstrations from the product owners. So this is a great way to keep up to speed, make sure that as I'm upgrading, I can take advantage of the latest capabilities or see what's coming next. Well, let's jump back into Academy, because as a new developer on the team, I actually want to take a little bit of the machine learning, because once Josh configures the data pipeline and maps the data into our application, the next step is I'm going to work on the feature engineering and building out the AI pipelines. So I can see that the courses are now organized by learning paths. So a learning path for data integration, machine learning, application development, and UI development. And what this allows me, as I click into machine learning, are modular courses where I don't need to start a 2-day-long course and really complete all the starter steps to get to the final step. I can take these in the order that I want. Certainly they're ordered in a certain way, but I can, since I've already been part of a 2-day accelerated program that C3 hosted, I've already taken some of the type system, core architecture, and I can jump right forward into some of the more advanced sections like feature engineering. Now, getting started with feature engineering, I will see that the courses contain a series of videos and also deep technical labs where I'll get hands-on with the tool and get to try it out and debug and work through problems on my own. So because these workshops can get quite technical, I'm working remotely, I don't have an application developer or data scientist by my side, I need a live training support agent and community to help me work through these problems. So I'm going to click into our community to get help. So C3 Community is our customer engagement forum where developers can come and get questions about any C3 product and get immediate answers from those expert teams. So I land in C3 Academy category, but we have categories across UI development, data integration, type system, generative AI, reliability, and there are new categories coming out, and each of these categories are backed by the expert teams at C3 and at our customers that can collaborate and help you work through the best practice answers to whether it's a coding problem or some best practice that you're looking for. And so since I'm working through the feature engineering course right now, I might come in and ask a question about creating a feature set, which is a key step in the machine learning pipeline that allows me to take this, transform the signals in my data into training data sets that then I can train my machine learning models. And a lot of the core IP is sometimes in these feature definitions, so I want to go deep here. So I'll search creating a feature set, and I can learn from others that have taken this course about here's a developer that ran into some trouble where you create your feature set. Now, this developer comes in and gives a lot of context about the code that ran well. These are the steps that worked effectively. And I was able to get through these steps, and then I ran this code, and then finally at the bottom, I attempted to run this as a parallelized job, and I ran into this very specific error, and somewhere buried in here is the error message. And now as a subject matter expert, my colleague might come in here and kind of look through this and within half an hour or so can write up a response. But what's exciting about C3 Community today is that we have our code assistant as the first responder to these technical questions. So C3 AI Code Assistant is a fine-tuned LLM agentic AI system that is tuned on the entire C3 Agentic AI platform and the application code bases, and thousands of additional best practice code examples so that it can specifically answer questions and give me actually code that I can then go add to my application. And it knows about all the documentation so that then it can give me more links. So it comes in and says, based on the error message, here's the issue, here's what you should check in your code, and here's the specific code that's tailored to your code example that will run. So this developer is then able to go and copy that code, and lo and behold, the AI assistant fixed my problem. Thanks for the quick response. And what's great about having a code assistant in a community like this is you have this human-AI collaboration where a technical support trainer, Rain, also came in and added some additional context about what the developer might try to unblock themselves. And then I can also, because C3 Code Assistant provides the context, the source attribution of the the documentation, I can go in and look even deeper and click into this feature store documentation so that if I want, I can really go and learn much more about feature engineering. And this is all part of one of our 20 guides. This is a machine learning and data science guide that walks me through the entire life cycle so I can go deep here. So with the combination of online training and accelerator workshops, and then having live support from the community, from the expert community, as well as Code Assistant that's giving me live agentic AI responses to my coding questions, I feel like I have the tools that I can achieve self-sufficiency and work towards this path of now going and working on an application. So C3 AI Code Assistant is not just available in community today. We've made this available today for data scientists in Jupyter Lab, which is an on-demand service that comes with C3 AI Studio, our Visual Studio Code extension for application developers, so that developers can actually have a private chat directly with the AI assistant and ask data science questions without leaving the privacy of their own closed environment there. So I can ask questions about training machine learning models if I'm a data scientist, or setting up developer data pipelines if I'm an application developer. So back into Studio. Now Josh and I are going to start configuring this AI application, and I'm going to click in and show you one more thing. We've also embedded C3 Generative AI Code Assistant directly in Studio so that I can open this in the sidebar, ask about how do I configure Kafka. This is a question that Josh might be looking at in the visual tools, and the Code Assistant will provide me with an immediate response. So let me get started. I'm going to click on this application, and then I'm going to hand off to my colleague, Josh Przybylko, and we're part of this collaborative development team. He's going to work on integrating his source systems into the pre-built object model of this predictive maintenance application. Josh.
Thank you, Jake. Really exciting work with all the Developer Hub and technology transfer initiatives. So today, we're going to first break down the most important elements of an agentic AI system. The large AI model, by all means, is the brains behind an agentic AI application and the agents. However, you can think of the integrations and connections into your business systems as the nervous system of your agentic AI applications, enabling the agents to reach into your systems, automate business processes, streamline workflows to simplify your business operations, drive efficiency, and provide greater revenue opportunities. The data pipelines that feed from your data and application systems are the cardiovascular systems, feeding the AI agent's brain, the large AI models, with the data it needs to make decisions and to thrive and become productive. Agentic AI systems need integrations to your business applications, ServiceNow, Workday, SAP, your ERPs, your CRMs. We need integrations with your data warehouses, Snowflakes, Databricks, BigQueries. We need integrations with real-time streaming data from your IoT sensors in the field of your equipment, in factories, in manufacturing plants. All of this data can be structured, petabyte scale time series, unstructured images, text, PDFs, videos, 3D point cloud. An agentic AI platform needs an omnimodal data architecture to support all of these myriad types of integrations and data types. But an omnimodal data architecture is not sufficient in its own right. Businesses are rapidly evolving, and so with it, their data sources constantly evolving, data shape constantly evolving. If we need to feed these AI agents with all of this data, we need visual tools, simple tools to quickly onboard new data sources, validate existing data sources, change, manage, and orchestrate this multimodal, omnimodal data architecture. Today, we're going to be introducing the visual tool that's up to this challenge. We refer to this as C3 AI Studio Data Fusion. Jake and I have chosen C3 AI Platform as our agentic AI platform for modernizing existing enterprise applications and developing net new agentic AI use cases to drive our business forward. We start from one of C3's pre-built applications. It has 90% of the logic we need for our particular use case. Tremendous accelerator. The first thing we're going to do is understand the application. We're going to delve into the application data model. As developers, we wish to understand, what does this object model look like? What are the types of data is it modeling? Thus, understanding the workflows behind the application. And we can take a closer look at core objects. Modeling facility. Modeling manufacturer. And one of the ones that we're going to be talking about shortly is wind turbine events, modeling time series data for our predictive maintenance use case. In this instance, we're doing predictive maintenance on wind turbine generators. Taking a zoom out, we can toggle on different information in our data model to help us onboard to it. For example, I'm going to provide the perspective of which of these objects do we intend or need to feed external data through into the object model, versus which objects may be populated by downstream processes within the application, such as an object capturing machine learning predictions, which are downstream from the raw data that we're going to capture into these purple boxes. While I've been talking, Jake's been busy. Some of these objects, when we look into them, we can preview data that's been loaded. Jake's been busy integrating some of the data for us. We can preview the data in the entities. However, heading over, wind turbine measurement is the object that I'm going to be tasked with integrating. Unless Jake's done it for me, there's no data in this particular entity to preview because I have not yet configured the data pipeline. So let's look at these data pipelines. Again, Jake's been busy. He's already populated some of the data pipelines. The data pipeline perspective complements the object model perspective by providing a very simple visual of my source data, where my data is coming from within my systems. On the right, which objects I am populating, so what are my targets, and how the data is transformed from source into the target object. I can preview what these transforms look like. Again, Jake's been busy. These are fairly simple transforms that are simply mapping fields from source to target. Okay, so let's proceed with this application. I'm going to go to my Data Sources tab, which is the perspective I use to manage my data systems and sources. Jake's already configured 2 of the data sources. We've connected to a Google Cloud Storage bucket from which we have a couple of folders within the Google Cloud Storage from which we're integrating data. Whenever new files arrive at a specific directory in that source system, as defined here, it will be integrated, transformed, and integrated over to this target object. We've also configured our integration with our Snowflake data warehouse. Currently, I haven't connected Snowflake to anything. I will do so shortly. But remember, I'm after configuring that wind turbine measurement object, which is intended to capture time series data. And it's not just any time series data. What we're going to do now is integrate real-time data from sensors that are live, feeding through a Kafka broker. For those of you, Kafka is a system that allows you to connect real-time sensor data and feed it as like a live data pipeline. And we're going to connect into that live data pipeline. Before I do so, I want to make sure my live data pipeline is actually turned on. Otherwise, okay. So my wind turbine connector is on. So through the Kafka portal, I'm inspecting my stream that I want to actually connect to and integrate with. And I can see new time series data arrive, multiple messages arriving each second. So my stream is live. I next proceed to add data source. From here, I can select from several of C3's connectors. I'm going to select Kafka. Before this session, I created temporary credentials to my Kafka broker that I'm actually going to use to connect to live. These credentials will be deactivated directly after this session. The credentials, bear with me. Okay, fingers crossed I copied all of those across. Oops. I'm going to click Test Connection. So in real practice, Kafka will typically be set up with several, if not hundreds, if not thousands of data streams that I can integrate in via this tool. I only need to establish this connection to Kafka once. From there, I'm going to be able to explore all my data streams. Perfect. I'm hitting the Kafka broker. I'm going to call my connector transform Kafka, streaming data. I'm going to complete. We now have a live connection to Kafka. But that's not it. We haven't configured that pipeline yet. I'm going to select a stream to integrate into my system. I've got one stream, the one that I just demonstrated, and we're going to see if we can preview those streams. OK, I've got live data. I previously had no connection to Kafka. I turned on Kafka, saw the data flowing from the Kafka portal. I can preview the raw payload of a message that's coming live through that data stream to make sure I'm connecting to the correct stream and connecting that stream to the correct target. The preview looks good, although I do have a rather complex timestamp that I need to pass. OK. The next step is I need to infer that from the stream that I selected, based on that message payload, the expected schema of that Kafka message. This actually helps us in the future. If someone modifies my underlying data systems, changes the schema, Data Fusion actually sends you an alert saying, this table has been changed. The schema has changed. This stream is no longer active. This stream contains data that looks very different from what was expected. This inference on the schema happens all automatically, saving all the developers' time. Moving on to the next section. I select my target object. The object that I wish to integrate to is called wind turbine measurement. One of those purple objects that I previewed before. Canonical in C3 language, you can think of that as a plug, a socket from which to integrate data into. So this is the socket into the wind turbine measurement, and these are the expected fields that the socket exposes that I want to integrate data into. I select this object. Next, I want to define a transform. There's multiple different types of transforms I can create here. For this demonstration, I'm going to be transforming using the field mapper and expression transformer. We can also define filters. So if I want to say data is coming in from wind turbine A, and I want to apply a special transform from wind turbine A, I can filter, apply a transform just for wind turbine A. And I can apply a different filter and transform for wind turbine B, even if all of that data is coming over the single data stream. I'm a bit lazy, so I don't want to actually do all of the field mapping, so I'm going to just ask the AI to help me map these fields. And for the most part, this gets it very correct most of the time. This particular circumstance, I have a funky timestamp. My timestamp I need to apply a special treatment for, which I'm going to copy. Update the timestamp. Timestamp transform looks good. And we have a reference of all of the different types of transforms we can apply directly from this interface. Other types of transforms we can perform, we can actually also write transforms in Python, JavaScript, your tool of choice. All of these transforms look good, so I'm going to click Save. Behind the scenes, Data Fusion is actually modifying the code base. Everything in C3, the sources, the transforms, the data pipelines are defined in code so that they're transportable between different clusters, environments, and so forth. So I'm going to go over to my data model now. Actually, first I'm going to go over here to let it load. Okay, my stream is now connected, and I have it mapped correctly. And in my data integration perspective, all of the pipelines are now configured, 2 of which Jake configured, the last I just configured live. This is the particular object that I wanted to integrate into. Moment of truth. And we have live data. So previously I showed no data in this object. We have live data. This is not normal, ordinary data. This is streaming data coming from a real vibrational sensor, real sensors, flowing through my Kafka broker that I connected to live. And that is data fusion. But that's actually not all of data fusion. This is a great start. Our C3 pre-built application defines 90% of the logic we need for our agentic AI use case. But not all of the logic. We want to extend this data model by adding new objects to this data model. We don't want to just populate a data model. We want to build and extend the data model. I'm going to add a new object to the data model. Jake already configured Snowflake for me. What I'm going to do, the table in question, the data in question that I want to add to this object model that does not yet exist in the object model already exists in Snowflake. So let's just add it. I'm going to explore my Snowflake account, and I can now actually preview all of the tables in my data warehouse within the specific schema I've identified. I can search the tables in my Snowflake instance. I'm going to select or preview, click on Wind Turbine Gen AI. Without even adding the data source, I can preview any and all of the data in my Snowflake instance, or any of my other data sources for that matter. You can switch this out with BigQuery, Databricks, ServiceNow, etc. Previewing enables me to select the right table before I bring it into my object model. I like this table, so I'm going to select it. Click Next. I can actually select multiple as well. Define the schema. I can add additional annotations and metadata to all fields if I don't have a metadata catalog already. When I'm building agentic AI platforms, to help the agent navigate the data model and perform the correct queries to the structured data within your data model, it's very useful to provide additional details of what a specific field means. Field doesn't particularly know what MM means, but we know that means it's an abbreviation for vibration measurement. So we want to provide as much detail as possible. And we can also change the column names and what they exist in our source system. Gen AI, new object. Click Save. Okay. So we've now connected to a new table. There we go. Let's go see if we can find this new table over in the object model. There we go. This is the table that we just brought in live. So we just modified the object model and added a net new table to this object model. What we've actually done here is we've taken a shortcut and virtualized this object. So we don't need to clone this data into C3. This external tag, so the object model representation within Data Fusion provides a lot of details around what an object is associated with. In this instance, it's showing that this is an external table that we've connected to. And I should be able to view the details coming straight through from Snowflake. So that is Data Fusion. Data Fusion is updating the metadata it's updating the code base of this application. Data Fusion has the ability to add new objects to the object model, create new relationships, virtualize data. You can upload a file to create a new object, or you can define a more advanced object based on your needs. Any relationship, any flavor of object, be it a vector store object to store your embeddings, be it a key value object to store time series, or relationships between relational data. It's updating the metadata, and if we brought up VS Code, we can actually view this metadata and continue our development in our high code development tools. In summary, Jake and I started one of C3's 131 pre-built applications that got us 90% there with the business logic we wanted to introduce as part of our new agentic AI use case. We explored the object model to onboard to the pre-built object model to onboard to certain details, such as showing which objects we needed to integrate data into versus which ones are populated from downstream data processing tasks. We configured live data integrations, showcasing integrating data live from Google Blob Storage, live from Kafka, where we actually configured that connection end-to-end with live credentials. We extended the object model by actually adding net new tables to the object model of the pre-existing application, thus modifying it for our own needs. In this instance, we added a new table based on virtualization from Snowflake. And we can reflect on these changes by interchanging between the visual tooling we just demonstrated to the high-code tools VS Code extension or our brand new in-browser VS Code offer, where we can now just modify code directly in the browser using in-browser VS Code, which is huge for security, by the way. None of your code ever needs to land on any of your developers' laptops. We believe data fusion is a game changer for our agentic AI platform. Omnimodal data architecture is not sufficient. It's a requirement, but not sufficient. The ability to visually monitor, manage, change your object model, your integrations, and validate your data on the fly visually through the myriad of data sources that are coming in from your business systems is critical for the future of agentic AI systems. On that note, thank you so much for coming today. I know it's been a huge day. We've got a few moments for Jake and myself to answer questions. And again, thank you so much.
And we welcome you also to visit our C3 Agentic AI. We have 2 booths with Shrey and Josh, myself, and a couple other product managers in the AI marketplace. So open for questions.
Can I drop the mic now?
Drop the mic.
Come on. Thank you.
Is that on? Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah. Did I hear you say spatial data was one of those, like a point cloud? So you guys are able to bring that in and potentially render that in an application from a UI perspective?
We can. We have a couple of customers. There's one in Europe that actually presented at Transform last year that is a leader in collecting drone visual data. And that drone visual data can be modeled as part of C3's object model. Point cloud data is very large, so you typically store that point cloud data in blob storage, but then generate huge amounts of metadata on that point cloud that then goes either into time series or relational stores so that you can access it when you need. And of course, now we can create embeddings on point cloud. So this point cloud, what is it? It actually, from a structure standpoint, is most similar to a tree. So I'm going to classify this as a tree using these new agentic search approaches.
Well, thank you all for joining this session. Really appreciate you coming and enjoy the rest of Transform. We'll be at the AI Marketplace.